Day 39, Ascension. Yes, we are already talking about the Ascension. We cannot go through 40 days without looking at all the major chapter markers in this story between crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension as well. Luke 24, he took them out as far as Bethany, lifted up his hands and blessed them. As he was blessing them, he was separated from them and carried into the heavens. And then, of course, in Acts 1, it says 2 men appeared and said, "Why are you looking up? Jesus has been taken away. Go back the same, and he'll come back the same way that he left." The bodily ascension of the resurrected Jesus to him is one of the most underappreciated truths of the gospel, meaning Jesus in body, flesh, bone, was ascended into this other dimension that we call heaven. And it's not as if the disciples were able to still figure this out. And in fact, and I hadn't seen this, it hadn't hit me as much, but in Matthew 28:17, it says they worshiped him, though some hesitated. Another version says, though some doubted still. And you're thinking, wait, he resurrected. He's with them for 40 days. And some of his followers were still doubtful and hesitating. It means that, though you can see miracles, though you can experience them firsthand, your mind will try and deny. Your mind cannot comprehend, and so it tries to fit it into a box. And so it's almost like you still are not seeing it. And this is uncharted territory. So the Gospel of Luke and Acts is basically one storyline, and it's supposed to be very connected. You're supposed to see it from start to finish. And in Acts, or at the end, Jesus is basically giving the commission to his disciples in 2 ways. He tells them about the work of resurrection witnessing, and 2, he does tell them to wait in Jerusalem until they are equipped by the Holy Spirit and his power. And it does mention that, yes, when he's telling them to wait, at this point in Acts 1:4, they're having a meal. So even resurrection, Jesus is still enjoying the food while he can. But we see this explosive introduction of the Holy Spirit, seemingly tongues of fire resting on every individual. And then we have tongues and the miracles of speaking in other languages as well, which is also as described as another kind of tongue. And Simon Peter stands up, announces to the whole city about the story. And at that point, it says 3,000 people were added to the community that day. You can't even imagine it. He gets up and preaches for a while. 3,000 people are hanging around, and boom, right there and then, added to the church. And it continues on, though it takes a turning point in Acts 7, where Stephen, a man filled with grace and power, it says some things about the temple, gets himself in trouble with the religious leaders again, and he's standing in trial, and Stephen's waiting to be asked, what's going on? And Stephen, of course, has a long monologue at this point. And then finally, at the very end of his time of speaking, he says, and he has a vision. I can see the heavens opened and the Son of Man standing at God's right hand. So if this sounds familiar, it is exactly the phrase, pretty much, that landed Jesus in the guilty verdict. The same title, the same language lands Stephen, and he is stoned to death. And Stephen isn't seeing an angel. He's not seeing other spirits. He is seeing a human being sitting on the throne. And it is decidedly this identity that captures us, because we are staring into the human face of God. And it means there is, quote, one like a human being ruling with God. It means that one is made of flesh and blood and bones right now. It means that one day we will meet this God-human Jesus in the flesh. One day we will get to eat with him ourselves. And the reason we'll know it's him is because he'll be the only one with scars as well. So if you think about it, this journey that the disciples were on, and through the Holy Spirit, finally, the disciples are able to connect the dots and realize Jesus, this man, is the Son of God.